All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us for our next session in today's event, AI's Impact on Talent Acquisition, Reinventing How Organizations Attract, Hire, and Retain Talent, sponsored by Eightfold. This webcast has been pre-approved for one HRCI and one SHRM credit. Please be sure to attend the complete webcast in order to receive your credits. You'll receive an email from hr.com within 2 business days that will include your certification information. So during the webcast, we have the chat open for engagement. And as well, if you have questions for any of the presenters, we ask that you place those questions in the Q&A tab in your webinar control. All right, it is now my pleasure to turn it over to Rebecca Warren to get us started.
Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Rebecca Warren, I'm coming to you from a conference in Utah, so I apologize. My internet has been a little bit sketchy, so hopefully I won't disappear, but I may be going off camera. Super excited to have everyone here today. We are going to talk about the urgency for change and the candidate experience, looking through the AI-powered talent acquisition revolution. So first, to set up our great speakers, I would love to throw it over to Kathy to introduce herself, and then we'll go to Stella.
Sounds great. And well, thank you, everybody, and welcome. My name is Kathy Enders. I'm the Senior Vice President of Research and Global Industry Analyst at the Josh Person Company. We are a research and advisory company for the HR profession. And for the purpose of this topic, I'm thrilled to work with Stella on all things AI and talent acquisition. And AI has certainly been one of the topics that we've probably most talked about all year long, and today will be no exception of that. So Stella, over to you.
Hi everyone, global greetings. Thank you for joining us. Stella Ioannidou here. That weird surname that sounds all Greek to you is exactly that. I'm the Senior Director of Research here at Bursing, and I have the privilege of overseeing our research portfolio around the future of talent acquisition and what role AI plays into that, and what we talk about, skills and talent acquisition and talent growth, what all that entails. But back over to you, Kathy, to kick us off. We have a little intro at the beginning, and then we'll do a fireside chat.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah, we have lots to share, and this comes actually from our research that we just completed and Stella led on AI and talent acquisition, so we can share this with you as well. But let me just set a little bit of context, basically why we're talking about this and what all of this is about. So first, where are we in in the world of work and in the world of HR and the world of talent acquisition? Maybe one way to describe that is everything is changing all at once. Change is the name of the game. Everything is changing all the time, from the labor market being very challenging, where we have still a very unbalanced labor market, where we have extreme shortages in some positions. In other positions, we have maybe too many people, and at the same time, maybe not the right skills, not the right talent groups that we're getting to. So really something that I know you all in talent acquisition struggle a lot with. From the second point that we're always talking about too, and that is getting worse and worse, or harder and harder to manage, is every business is changing. Every business, every industry is being disrupted. Every industry is merging with another industry. So what that means is basically, if you're in retail, you used to just think about retail talent. Well, now you have to think about also attracting maybe healthcare talent, maybe financial services talent, maybe insurance talent. Every company, of course, has to now be a technology company, because every company has to have technology offerings. But then also every company has to think about how they incorporate AI into their operation. And that's the third theme here. AI is impacting all of us, of course, in HR and in talent acquisition, but in the entire organization, of course, as well. All the jobs, all the roles, all the skills are impacted by the AI transformation that we have in every position as well. And at the same time, our employees are more and more stressed. They are more and more concerned. Employee engagement around the world is at an all-time low. They're very stressed and ask for our help in HR to get them ready for this AI transformation, to understand how they need to redevelop, redeploy, how their career is going to be impacted by all of this change. So a very challenging time, but also a very exciting time. I was at the HR Tech conference a couple of weeks ago, and Nicole Lamoureux, who is the CHRO of IBM, she gave the opening keynote, and she said she feels it's HR's moment in the sun. And I love that, because the moment in the sun really means we can capture this opportunity and really add a ton of value. A lot of companies, all the CEOs are basically asking about, we invested so much money into the AI transformation. 92% of them have actually invested more or have invested heavily in AI, and they want to get value out of it. They don't just want to get cost savings, they want to get revenue out of it, but only 7% actually see revenue from that. So with this kind of AI impact gap, it's our opportunity to support our companies to become these super worker organizations, as we call it. And this actually comes from a research that we just did with, actually together with Eightfold, not too long ago, a few months ago, where we're saying, what are these companies doing to create that super worker organization? And when we talk about a super worker, we mean basically every employee can become the super worker, where they are taking the AI tools that we give to them and turn it into their support system and become much more impactful, much more productive, and much more kind of also have much more meaningful work. So they're not seeing the AI as a replacement. They're seeing the AI that we give to them in every job, whether they're in sales or in marketing or in operations or in tech. In any of the professions, you have the maybe 5 to 10% of people in your organization that take these AI tools and become super workers. And as from an organizational perspective, every industry sees these super worker companies that take the AI tools and turn them into a growth engine, not just a cost control engine. They are continuously always innovating at the core of their practices. So whether you're a pharmaceutical company, for example, and really supporting innovation, not just in your R&D group, but everywhere in your front line, every employee innovating all the time. Or if you're a healthcare organization and thinking about how you're going to have better better patient-centered care, for example, whatever the problem is they're trying to solve, giving it to the front line as well. They're always redesigning how they're doing work. We call this productivity-based work redesign. So rather than thinking about what are the activities that we have and how can we replace some of the work activities with AI, thinking about what are the outcomes of our work and how do we actually do the work better in a new way. And we'll talk about what this looks like in the talent acquisition function in a minute. And how can we think about every employee counting? So we call this talent density, where we're thinking about not more people, but a better fit of skills and capabilities to every single person. How can we think about not change management in the old paradigm, where we are kind of managing change like a project, but putting change at the front line, making sure that we break the change down into smaller pieces. And at the same time, we're also rethinking how the HR organization is structured, not in the old silos that we have, where talent acquisition never works with L&D and L&D doesn't work with compensation, but in a much more problem-oriented and integrated way. And we call that systemic HR. And the AI is helping all of that. So lots of examples and case studies that we have in there that I'm not going to be able to go through. But if you want to read this report, we'll encourage you to do this too, because it's full of many, many different examples. So how is AI changing companies? Companies themselves, before we even talk about AI in HR and talent acquisition, AI is actually changing how each of our companies operate. So it's bringing together every single function, basically, from kind of sales and marketing, bringing together with manufacturing or with product development, whatever your company does with the supply chain, because now we can integrate all the data in a much more seamless way. And you see here how much PwC projects that the AI impact will be, whatever the projection is. I just say it's a lot of money. It's a huge sum of money, that whether that's 15.7 trillion or whatever the number is that we're going to project. It's a huge opportunity, upside opportunity, not just to change, kind of make things cheaper, but make things better, help people basically to contribute more and become these super workers in our organization. And organizations are in one of 4 stages of this AI transformation that everybody is in. So, and as you're listening, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you can put it in the chat, or maybe we can have a little conversation around that. Which stage you're in. And there's no shame, by the way, if you're in earlier stages of this AI transformation. So the first stage is basically, as an organization, you're using some AI assistants, maybe you're using Microsoft Copilot, or maybe you're using Gemini, or any of or maybe an internal GPT, whatever you give to all of your employees. And everybody is kind of taking these tools. And some people might do amazing things with them, but most people are probably just going to use them for rewriting their emails a little bit, or helping them with their presentation, or maybe if you're a software developer, maybe you help a little bit with code checking or whatever it is. Or when you're a marketing person, maybe you're using it to help you write a campaign. Whatever it is basically that you're doing, you are taking these assistants, and every person is basically up to them how they're using them. So that's stage 1. Jobs and work are still the same. You're just making things a little bit better. Stage 2 is where you're taking AI agents. So those are not just assistants. Those are things basically that that do actual downstream transactions in transactional systems. So basically, you might take an AI agent, and we'll talk a lot more what this means for the talent acquisition area. But maybe you'll take an agent, for example, for interview scheduling. Let's just say for talent acquisition, right? And so, if you're a recruiter, you might have an agent that helps you with interview scheduling. And that helps you not spend so much time on scheduling and rescheduling interviews. It's great, right? But your job as a recruiter is still going to be the same when you have these agents. So if you're a learning and development professional, maybe you'll take an agent that helps you with submitting course descriptions in your LMS or something like that, and maybe move people forward in your LMS after they've taken the course, whatever it is. You take these agents, and your work is still the same, and you have these agents that are just function specific or take some tasks away. And then it's a huge jump basically to stage 3, where you have these multifunctional agents that actually work together with each other. So you could have a onboarding agent, for example, in your talent acquisition function that works directly maybe with a learning agent that helps you seamlessly connect when somebody came on board, what should they be enrolled in, what should they be doing on the learning side. And that happens not just in HR, of course, that happens in every single profession. And there we have to think about, how do we actually redesign the work and the roles? So because people can't do this anymore, because it's now integrating with other functions. So maybe the recruiter role is now going to change, and Stella's going to talk about that in a minute. This might change, for example, more in a talent advisor role. And then stage 4 is totally autonomous agents. And again, Stella's going to give some examples what this looks like in more detail in the recruiting side. But for example, you might have a totally autonomous agent that does end-to-end recruiting transactions, where the hiring managers has to approve or make decisions or something like that. And you as a recruiter might just orchestrate all of this. And what does it look like then from a skills perspective, from an interaction perspective, from a relationship perspective? Stella's going to talk more about that. And so I'd love to see maybe if you have some thoughts, each of you, where you are on any of these stages, and how this actually changes work and roles and jobs. Huge opportunity for us in HR and talent acquisition to add value there, because this happens in HR, but also maybe even more importantly, this happens also across different areas, not just in HR. Okay, let me keep going here because I know we have lots to cover, and I want to give Stella time to talk about talent acquisition. So let's talk about AI in HR. This was AI on the broader scheme of things, the entire organization. What does it do in the HR areas? Well, in HR, actually changes how we go to market, or how we go to our employee and manager and candidate populations. It used to be that all of our HR systems, most of them were actually not built for end users. Many of their transactional systems that have been around for 20, 25 years, like Workdays or the Oracle SuccessFactors, all of the HCM systems were not built for interactions with candidates, with managers, with employees. I know tools like Eightfold, for example, they're newer and more AI first. They're more kind of candidate and end user first. But many of the transactional systems or your LMS systems, whatever you have in your tech stack, was not really built for interaction. So oftentimes they have been a little bit clunky from an end user perspective. And now we have the opportunity to actually turn this on its head and say, our candidates, our employees, our managers are interacting completely conversationally. So basically, rather than saying, I need to find out where, click, how to initiate a requisition, you could just type it into a chat kind of interface. And you could just basically say, I want to start a requisition, or I need to hire somebody. And then this conversational interface could say to you, okay, is it one of the roles that you have on your team, or is it a new role? And then you could say, oh, it's, and you could say basically see how this works. And this works also on the employee side when you're saying, for example, I might want to know if I can take tomorrow off, for example, right? You could just type it in rather than fiddle around with your employee portal and try to find where this is, and then or have kind of a dumb chat interface, which used to be, I think, the case for many years, where the chat is not all that user friendly, and then in the end of the day, the user has to call up the service center anyway because it's too hard to use. Now these agents can be very smart, very proactive, and just interface and make this much more conversational, rather than having people basically to navigate through endless portals and all of that. But what it means from a data perspective, that talent intelligence layer and that semantic data layer become even more important, because when you have the AI work operating on top of that, it needs to be right. It needs to be very smart. It needs to be very interactive. That's why systems like Eightfold, for example, that are built around talent intelligence are so important, because they really feed this data side of things. And AI is really impacting everything in the entire HR stack. I know we're talking about recruiting, and certainly talent acquisition has been one of the most, if not the most, kind of leading area in HR, in the AI, kind of in the AI journey, because of all the data that we have in recruiting, right? Because we don't just have data on our employee population. In a way, we have data on the entire world, right? On every single person in the world that might be a candidate. So recruiting has certainly been leading, but there's many, many other examples across the entire spectrum of HR. I'm not going to talk through all of them, but use cases are almost endless. And I think every day something new comes around. If you were at HR Tech a few weeks ago, I think there was not one vendor that didn't talk about AI agents and skills. So this was kind of the keywords. Everybody is talking about it. From an HR perspective, we actually have a lot of impact already on how we can turn AI not just into cost savings, but then also into efficiency, effectiveness. So we call this the 4E area. Efficiency is the first one. Efficiency, certainly AI can make us more efficient, but then how can AI also make us more, create a better employee or candidate experience, for example? That experience is so important. And certainly in the candidate experience, might be, you could say it's even more important than on the employee experience, because any candidate, if they don't have a good experience for you, they might go away and they might be a customer, they might be a client, they might be an influencer on buying decisions or anything, business decisions. So that kind of employee and candidate experience, so important. But then also, how can we do better things? How can we do get better candidate quality, for example, higher quality, better insights on who might be qualified, on skills, whatever we have here. And last E that we talk about this as the 4E model, last E that we have is employee productivity. So how can we have also make every employee more productive? How can we have less turnover? How can we have kind of every employee become the super worker? And you see some of these metrics in there. They're already here. I think the key point here is AI impacts all of these things, not just make us more efficient in HR. So lots of opportunities there to add a lot of value. This is kind of an eye chart, but we just wanted to put this out there to say lots and lots of different use cases that already impact efficiency, experience, effectiveness, and employee productivity. And for us, it's up to us basically to think about how do we solve business problems with AI. We always get the question first, where do I start? Which one to go to first? Because there's so many things, right? Where do I start? We always say we either start with the pain or you start with the gain. So when you start with the pain, it's basically you start where the biggest issue is, whether you're doing volume hiring, for example, and you have just so many candidates or you have so many positions to fill. Well, start there. But if you have, or you can think about we don't have the right hiring quality or our candidate experience is not really good. Lots of people drop off. Well, then you start there, right? Or if you're saying basically we have very specialized positions where we just can't find enough people, well, you start there, right? Maybe you start with internal mobility, whatever the thing is that you have either the biggest pain or the biggest gain. Biggest gain could also be you have a huge business problem where, for example, and I know Stella's going to talk about that. If you are, for example, a hotel chain that has to open a hotel, right? A big hotel in like a very short time span. Well, maybe you're going to start there because that's going to be your business critical issue. If you don't hire enough people to open that hotel, well, the business will not function. So like start with the pain or start with the gain. And certainly companies, and not going to go through all of these examples, but lots of companies are already using AI to either start with the pain or start with the gain. So with that, Stella, I'll turn it over to you. And I know I'm going to run your slides to talk about how this all impacts specifically talent acquisition.
Yeah, right on. I think one of the biggest things that we've noticed, the more we're researching the profound changes in talent acquisition with the emergence of AI, is a complete shift on the type of impact talent acquisition is having on the organization. In the beginning, TA is kind of like a fulfillment center. Give me as much incoming talent as you can. Go and outsource frequently, scale up volume hiring. Yes, focus on the candidate experience, but urgently, hunt for that talent and bring them in. And of course, it has been a numbers game. I oftentimes have this nerdy HR joke that if you don't have any data in HR anywhere, well, go ask the recruiting team or the talent acquisition team. They definitely have something, right? They always had a lot of KPIs, working a lot of the time to hire and time to fill, and the cost of hire, and a lot of other metrics, because it was more of an operationalized, let's say, approach. What we're seeing now, which is becoming especially prevalent with organizations who've embraced and adopted AI at the profound level, is that the talent acquisition team is kind of like the growth department. It's not just the people who bring talent in as fast as they can, but it's the people and the team that grows the organization's capacity. And that goes kind of hand in hand with the entire focus of HR from a talent growth standpoint. We're going, and if you go to the next slide, from a hire to grow mentality, when we kind of think that, oh, we kind of need to bring a new hire into the organization, and we kind of need to kind of let's say, go through the pain of bringing them in and onboarding them and helping them reach productivity as much as we can into a grow to hire approach. And we actually call that talent density. We're actually seeing that don't focus so much on bringing as many people as you can. Rather, focus on bringing the right talent at the right point in time, at the right place within the organization, and with the right career pathway for that talent to flourish and grow and give you the value and the impact that you aspire for. And if there was just one phrase, one tagline that could summarize the big message from our latest research on the revolution of talent acquisition, is that big shift that it becomes from its talent acquisition used to be like handcrafted. We're trying so much with the experience and personalization, but we can't do that at scale. But now with AI, it boils down to precision. We know exactly what message to send to what candidate, at what channel, at what point in time, with what wording, for which skills, and which part of the organization, and what career pathway will then follow. We're seeing, and I love Natalia put one example in the chat, says, leveraging AI to create job descriptions and exploring opportunities to integrate with the HRIS. We're seeing a lot of let's say, great practices currently adopted by a variety of organizations. But if we were, let's say, to give you some bullet points of what we're seeing that, for example, AI is completely revamping the whole job description conversation. It becomes completely overhauled. We're not going to be, oh, what did we post last year? Who has an internal job description? Let's kind of tweak it. This is now becoming, in most cases, an AI-powered task. But it's not just about, the job description and the content. We know that large language models and generative AI is especially powerful there. But we're also seeing a lot on the intelligence front. For example, sourcing becoming based on skills, and platforms like Eightfold, for example, greatly facilitate and support that. Interviews have a lot of stages, and many of them are becoming extremely AI based and AI powered. Assessments are served by an AI bot and analyzed, and we get an let's say the synthesis of the outcomes are appear on the dashboard of the recruiter or the sourcer or the hiring manager. We're seeing screening done almost immediately. Gone are the days when I hope that my polished CV would be, screened by the person. We actually saw that approximately 60% of all recruiters use some form of AI when screening CVs. And at the same time, approximately more than 70% of candidates also use some form of AI polished CV to begin with. So you're seeing the dynamic in the market and how that's impacting profoundly how we do talent acquisition. We see now, because we have that insight of what skill, for what role, in what area, in what career pathway, we can integrate internal mobility within that same experience. And we can stop saying that, okay, so the talent acquisition job kind of stops the minute you walk into the door, and then I kind of hand the talent over to whoever it is within HR developing talent. Because now, and we're going to be touching upon this in a minute when we talk about the revamped role of the recruiter, we're actually, before even we go out and publish a new job posting, the recruiter actually can have the conversation. Do we really need to hire for this role? Is this a role to hire for? Are we sure we cannot cover for those types of skills or talent internally? Let me go into my AI-powered sourcing tool and figure out that, hey, with those 837 different traits that you're looking and skills and capabilities, there are literally 3 people on the planet that we can hire for this role. Maybe we can rethink the entire approach and make our sourcing strategy more sustainable and help us secure talent in a forward-looking way. So we're also seeing a lot of things that talent acquisition did not care so much about, yes, that we would negotiate the salary and the rewards. But we had a very small, let's say, level or degree of freedom on how much we would do it. We would typically do that per job family or per tier, depending on what type of job structure we were using. But now we can even get to that precision to negotiate salary and rewards based on the role, because we know exactly what role that is and what the skills of that role entail. And that will lead us into skill-based rewards at some point in the very near future. This kind of brings together the entire approach of acquiring new talent with the integrated workforce planning. We don't just hire people because some hiring managers, someplace in the organization said we need talent. It's about, are we really growing the business, or are we just bringing talent in? And let me walk you through one of the examples. And if you've read the report, and if you haven't, we'll be happy to share this with you. We've talking to a lot of organizations, and who've been using a variety of solutions that are AI powered for talent acquisition. But one of those is Great Wolf. Great Wolf is a resorts or organization, mainly operating in the United States. And they had a very unique problem because they're a family-based resort business. They have a lot of hourly and frontline workers who have a lot of other options on where to go and find a job. So they needed this type of, let's say, experience for candidates to be the first to actually reach them and the first to engage in type of conversation. Because, hey, you can, if you want to, let's say, clock in some hours, you can go to any restaurant service or a fast food service or a resort or a hotel. So you have options, right? So Great Wolf wanted to be, let's say, one of the first to be on top of mind on candidates. And initially, they thought that they had to do that through fairs, engaging with the community. And of course, that always works when you have an on-site presence and you engage with people real life, it always works. But when they were trying to scale, it was amid the pandemic. So you can really have any of the fairs and you didn't really know how to reach out to the candidates. They started experimenting by literally getting people's SMS numbers and actually texting them. Are you interested with opening up in your resort? Are you interested on that role? And they had really low expectations of, will people really respond to a text amid the pandemic? We don't really know if this is going to work. And we had this lovely interview with the CHRO about this. And the minute they started receiving SMS replies back, they knew that there was an opportunity there to explore, but they couldn't have all the recruiters texting every candidate. They were trying thousands of candidates in. So they used an AI-powered assistant that they gave them access to, they gave all of the candidates access to, and through the chat, 24/7, they could immediately schedule the interview. And a lot of organizations say, oh, that's a huge relief. And yes, that's a huge win. That's a big opportunity for AI and talent acquisition. A lot of organizations kind of stop there. They say, okay, we've solved this. We have AI, it's scheduling interviews. But the most forward-looking organizations like Fontainebleau, 7-Eleven, Great Wolf, and others, they go a step further and say, okay, now that we saw that we can bring AI and automate a specific part of the talent acquisition process, what about the rest of the process? Where are the other opportunities for conversational automation, for example? And which are the actual moments that matter, that we do want to see the person and, kind of have the candidate speak with an actual human being. And for example, in Great Wolf's case, they decided that, you know what, we can actually automate or enhance with AI every step of the hiring experience, except for the in-person interview, because we still wanted to see the person, the hiring decision, because we still want a hiring manager to make that call at the end of the day, and day one, where we actually want to welcome the new member of our team. So it's not just about bringing in AI to bring incremental change or a small modernization in one area. It's about rethinking the entire process. And that's where we are saying that you cannot expect kind to bring the new approach with the old, with the old glasses, the old lens. You can't really expect from the recruiter to still serve like an order taker for talent and go find and secure talent and only worry about how fast we are bringing in talent and not have them understand that, hey, I'm actually now having more conversations about hiring managers around, is that the right talent? I'm actually serving more as a strategic talent advisor. And if we can go to the next slide on this, I
And
actually need to have more informed conversations about why are we hiring today? What are we hiring for the future of the organization? What is the business looking to grow into? What is the new way that we're going to be, let's say, looking or working in 5 years from now so that we can incorporate that in the talent strategy? And we're seeing more and more the need for capabilities like skills and data and analytics, like systems thinking, like understanding the business, like becoming a strategic advisor. But we're also seeing the need for the recruiter to kind of serve like an AI agent orchestrator, understand what all these different AI tools are doing, where are, let's say, the risks or where oversight is needed. Make sure that we are having oversight when oversight is due and duly needed, and then make sure that we're maximizing the opportunity of AI without sacrificing the need for human connection, for quality of hire, and for making sure that we are indeed putting the right person with the right skills at the right time, at the right place within the organization. The soft part of them, and I don't want to call them, but the human part of the recruiter role will never go away. There will always be the collaborators, the adaptable, the equitable part of the HR talent sphere, but we are seeing some more emphasis now on also understanding not only the tech aspect, but also the business aspect and why and when we're bridging the two. The TA stack, and I know that Kathy gave a sneak peek of the HR tech stack previously, but the TA tech stack, you can imagine this more like um, a place where the recruiter has the complete oversight of whatever agent or AI tool is doing and making sure that our candidate experience is where it should be through the career website, through the mobile apps, through the social media integrations. The AI engine. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are the tasks on? Is the conversational AI actually handling the interactions? So think of this like a cockpit of sorts, where the talent acquisition or the recruiter, the expert, is at the driver's seat, and all the technology enabled automations are doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing. You will not be surprised to hear that our research found that in terms of the TA tech stack from a technology standpoint, this is a crowded market. A lot of solutions are trying to solve not only for assessment, but also for sourcing, for interview, for onboarding, for career. There is a lot. Some of them, especially those who have the historic, let's say, oversight of where the market is going, what skills are rising, what skills are declining, have an advantage there, because you don't only get the internal data on your company, but you're also coupling that with labor market insights to know that, hey, this is the type of role that it won't be here in 5 years. So maybe we should not be growing or hiring for that role, or prioritizing that role over other types of roles. The TA revolution, if you wanted, let's say, to have like a where do I begin in 5 bullet points? Well, the first is that we need to understand that TA is morphing into a precision science. Now that we have the tech, and we always had the data, but now that we have the tech and the enablement, we can actually predict exactly what the need is, and we should be doing that. And we're seeing more and more and that change of the role of the recruiter, as I said, into more than the talent advisor, but on top of that, like the orchestrator of all the solution, making sure that the tech stack is where it should be. And if you don't know where to start, do an AI-powered pilot in the same way that Kathy explained earlier, depending on the problem you're solving for. See what happens. Every organization that we spoke to, and I mean everyone, started with a pilot. Let's see if we can do something about the interview scheduling piece. Let's see if we can do something about the sourcing bit. Let's see if we can, in some form, understand if we are, let's say, hiring for the right roles. And the minute that you get consensus and understanding of what AI can and cannot do, then you start expanding to other areas of the organization, coupling all the efforts with the business metrics that that matter. Kathy, would you like to bring us home and open it up later on for the fireside chat?
Sure. Yeah, this was so fantastic, Stella. Thank you for that. I know tons of work that went into this, and let me just close it down for the slides perspective, and then I know Rebecca, we have lots of questions and lots of thoughts, maybe also from the audience. Is really what this means for every single one of us and every single person in HR and in talent acquisition means. All the problems that we're dealing now, they're getting more and more complex, much more integrated with each other, much more multidimensional. When you're thinking about, for example, labor shortage or diversity in hiring or mobility or a better employee experience, whatever it is, new skills, new capability models, new job architectures, all of these things are no longer siloed into one area. They're really interconnected with everything else. And what that means for us in HR is we need to get faster into this shift to what we call systemic HR. So much more cross-functional, cross-trained people, much more understanding, not just talent acquisition in our area, but understanding learning and development, understanding mobility, understanding employee experience, compensation, the entire system, basically, in order for us to solve business problems in new ways. Lots and lots of different use cases. This is just from our perspective. We have 100 use cases that we've written out for Galileo, which is our agent, but you have many, many different use cases, hundreds of different use cases, but really powerful and really important. Take advantage of this moment in the sun, really take your role and like lead in this AI transformation and in this new revolution in talent acquisition, because the tools are here. The tools are very, very powerful. And once we become these strategic advisors, these change agents, coaches, learners, psychologists, all of these different roles that we might not have had before, and these kind of strategic orchestrators, as Stella put it, as talent acquisition people, it will help your organization, and it also will help you accelerate your role to become this kind of super worker. So with that, Rebecca, first, do we have any questions? I couldn't actually look because I think every time I look, it blocks the view of the slides. Maybe should we take the slides off, Rebecca? Should we take it off so we have the conversation, or should we leave them on?
I think take them off. That's fine. We can just all on the screen.
Okay, perfect. I took them off.
And there one question answered. The question was more about how do we get started? How do we in when it comes to AI? And you both have talked about that, right? Do a small pilot, ask some questions, and then continue to learn and iterate. So I think we covered that pretty well. So so let's start here. So Stella, with the report that you put together, I love the idea about the revolution of TA, right? I'm previous TA practitioner, what's been changing? How do we need to not just layer in AI or layer in new tech, but we kind of have to blow it up a little bit, I think. So my question to you is, what was the most interesting or maybe thing that you discovered uh, when you were through the research and putting together your thoughts?
I think there were a lot of fascinating, and every researcher can't have like one favorite insight because it kind of feels like betraying the other insights, like internal researcher joke. But one of the, let's say, initial fascinating findings of this work is how much impact AI is already having on the market right now, with the majority of recruiters in some shape or form, even with official tools, all powered by the available tools, are already using AI. The candidates are also already using AI, and none of them currently actually trust the process as much as we want to, because there is no real governance and there is no real framework around them. So candidates are always worried, am I being analyzed or let's say reviewed by an AI? Can I trust the AI's decision? And then on the recruiter side, we don't really know. So should I allow the AI to parse them? Should I parse them myself? How is this going to be working? So it's the element of the change is coming faster than we even have time to think about the impact of that change. I think the majority of the organizations, and I promise they didn't know each other, so they were not coordinated. During the deep dives and the interviews we did, they kept using the phrase, we built the plane while we were flying it. And that kind of explains what the revolution looks like. You kind of start with a pressing challenge or a big goal. For example, Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, they had, I think, 6 weeks to kick off a 6,000 person hotel. You can't really say that you have ample time to make that work. So you kind of need to think creatively about how you're going to achieve that, right? Or how do I reach out my early workers in the middle of COVID and I can't see them in career fairs anymore? So it's either coming to all of the professionals and practitioners who are listening. I think that we have time. We really don't have that much
Right,
time. It's already here, and it's
right.
about how much framework or how much structure we can put around it to actually balance out the quality and the good outcomes from the risks.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm at the Career Crossroads Talent Leader Summit, and we spend time talking about the super. So, Kathy, things you talked about, we were incorporating in our conversation. And Stella, what you were saying, also, there's a lot of discussion around that candidate experience. Where is the trust? If they're using AI to create a resume, what happens when it gets in the door, right? And the candidates have questions about how their information is looked at or used. And so there's a lot of things about that. The trust, transparency, also about candidate experience. And Kathy, talk to me a little bit about how AI is helping companies solve this candidate experience, I don't know, a crisis, candidate experience questions, right?
Yeah.
How are we that with AI?
Yeah, and Rebecca, it's a little hard to understand because sometimes you're breaking up. I don't know, Stella, if you had the same issue, but I think I got maybe a go off video, Rebecca, because yeah, you were breaking up. And not that I don't want to see you, but it was hard to hear you
Done.
sometimes. Yeah, I think it's better. But I'll just repeat the question so everybody can hear. Basically, it was around with the candidate experience being so front and center and so important, basically, what are we seeing and what are we experiencing with changes and opportunities to create a better candidate experience with AI? And that was certainly one of the big insights that we got here. And one of the big things, quite frankly, that we're seeing in the overall AI journey, as I talked about that before, not just seeing AI as a tool in HR to make us in HR talent acquisition faster at what we're doing, but really how does it impact the end user? Our customers are the employees, the candidates, the managers, and how can we create a better experience for them? That's kind of the second E in this 4E model, and certainly so important because and especially important in the candidate experience, because we have lots of people that have an opportunity to be disappointed. You usually have, like, I don't know, for example, Fontainebleau had 300,000 people apply, and they only could hire 6,000. So if you think about this, is kind of 50 times more people basically that you're going to have disappointed than the people that are potentially disappointed because they're not going to get the job, right? So, and that always happens all the time in recruiting, right? You have the opportunity. If you don't design a great candidate experience, people will probably say, well, didn't get that job, and so that's why I don't like this company. But you have actually a huge opportunity now with more transparency, for example, that you have in this black box of hiring, that hiring a lot of times is that you increase and create a much better candidate experience. For example, if you have AI-based candidate assessments, as we heard from, for example, a company called Forbes Mazar, who is one of the big consulting kind of audit and tax companies around the world. They're in Europe, but then they're also in the US and around the world, basically. And they hire a lot of early career people, as consulting companies usually do, have lots and lots of applications, of course, because lots of people that graduate from college want to work for them. And so what they saw is, well, if they don't hire these, like many people, of course, they can't hire all of them. They get maybe to hire 1 in 100 of where they get applications from them. But if they don't hire them and people have a bad experience, they say, well, these people might go on to be eventually one of our clients, right? They go on to work in one of the companies where we want to audit them, where we want to do their tax services. So for them, it's really, really important that people have a great candidate experience, not just from an employee perspective or from an HR perspective, but from a business perspective, because otherwise their future customers might say along the line, well, we're not going to get them as an auditor, as a tax company, because I had a really bad experience. This is not a good company to do business with. So really important from a business side. And that happens, of course, in retail companies as well, or this happens in CPG companies as well. You could see basically in any kind of company, people might say, oh, I'm not going to do business with this company because I didn't get a good experience. So they increased, for example, with AI-based skills assessments, they gave every person, also the ones that didn't get the job or didn't move forward even in the process, a personalized feedback mechanism to say, these are the skills where you scored highly, these are the skills or these are the capabilities where you didn't score as highly. And this was done all by the AI because, of course, a recruiter couldn't do all of this because they have, again, hundreds of thousands of people that are interested to work there. So increasing transparency in the recruiting process, why you didn't move forward, how you could maybe develop your skills or basically learn something from the recruiting process, huge opportunity to create a better candidate experience. So, and that's just one example from all of these other AI interactions, for example, where you could say better interview scheduling, better all the things that Stella went through, better kind of knowing where you are in the process, just increase the transparency that we just didn't do manually. Huge opportunity to add value. And these companies like Forbes Mazars and many others actually see this increase in candidate satisfaction and candidate experience directly by people saying, yes, this was a great experience. No, I didn't get the job, but still I learned something. And it was something for me that I got back because I invested my time in doing an assessment, for example, and now I got something valuable for me to learn and develop and grow. So huge opportunities for a better candidate experience.
That's great. Okay, so I'm watching the time and I'm going to close with just one final question. So looking ahead, and I would love to hear from both of you, what's the single most important action that every TA leader take in the next 3 to 6 months to make sure that their organization is leading as opposed to lagging in this revolution? So, Stella, why don't we go to you and then we'll go to Kathy.
Yeah. The pace of change and disruption is so broad that we don't even, let's say, have the luxury to afford doing one thing. We kind of need to focus on at least three areas. One, revamping the skill set of the recruiter and helping them transform into a new type of role. Because in order for this to work, the recruiting team needs to have different types of skills and capabilities. So the leaders need to plan ahead for empowering the team for the change. The second aspect is go for the low hanging fruits. Find out where are we right now? What does the TA tech stack look like? What are opportunities to simplify? And even in some cases, we found that one of the organizations we spoke to said that because of using AI powered tools, they simplify their entire tech stack to 4 different unique applications. It's the only company in the world that I know that they only are using 4 things for talent acquisition, including the LinkedIn accounts and the Indeed accounts. So go for simplicity, find out the low hanging fruits and start experimenting. This is not a type of, let's say, theoretical question or pondering that the more you think about it, the more it will come to you. Go and kind of play with it, try out something. It doesn't work, try a different type of solution, see what you can find out from this, because if you do that in the next, let's say, 0 to 3 months, in you will be much wiser in 3 to 6 months time to be able to understand where are the biggest opportunities. Kathy,
Kathy,
what's your
30
take?
seconds. We've got to pass.
Yeah, we're going to pass it back. Well, I think Stella said it well. Just one other notion to add to what Stella said, which I all agree with, is just basically go for it. Don't be afraid. Don't sit back. Don't wait because things are changing all the time. Just do it, basically. Just go into it. And this is not a Nike advert, of course, but just do it, basically. Just go for it and experiment. Don't sit back. Don't wait. Tools are there, and it's your moment in the sun.
All right. Thank you both. And we're going to pass it back over to Rhonda to move us along. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
all three of you. Excellent presentation. Fantastic conversation. Thank you so, so very much. And to all of you for joining us and for participating, we thank you as well. Take a moment to fill out the exit survey before heading to the next session. It's going to pop open on your computer once I close the session. Your feedback is important to us and to the folks at Eightfold, and a grateful message. Thank you, Eightfold, as well. The HRCI and SHRM credit, those will be in your account within 2 business days, and we'll send an email with the credit information. Again, Kathy, Stella, Rebecca, thank you so very much, and take great care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.